Mariana, 0.
Yeah, Stephen, we have you. Who is the next person?
Mary.
Mariana, 0.
Okay, thank you.
Eileen Maloney.
No, I got you, Eileen. The
I think it might be me on both, Mark, for some reason.
well,
Oh, you made it. Good.
that's
Walter
not what you was.
Clayton.
That's not what you were saying before he got in, Gary.
You probably got that on tape. You made it up.
Nice, nice.
Oh, it's not as bad as he makes it out then.
iPad 8. Who is that iPad user that just came in? You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
It's Sumsky, Catherine Sumsky.
Thank you.
Okay. Why is your hand raised, Edgar?
I go faster. Oh, turn it down. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it down.
I got it. Don't worry about it, Edgar.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, where are we? It's
Oh.
7:33. We have 2 minutes.
Yeah, hold on, Vinny, because I'm still letting people in and I don't know who they are, so it's taking me a bit of time.
All right.
We just let Frank in on an iPad. Frank, your name?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm the architect. How are you?
Good. What's your last name, Frank?
Trulio, Truglio.
Mark, I think there's 4 of them going to be on tonight.
No, the issue is only when they don't come in with their name, so I don't know who they are.
Right.
Oh, my. Crowley. Patricia Crowley.
Patricia's iPad. Patricia Crowley. Okay. Let me change that. Jeff's iPad. Jeff, your last name?
Mink, M-I-N-K.
And HYHK.
New? New guy, yes.
Hi, this is Patty Maltezos. There we go.
Thank you.
Frank.
Sanchez.
All right, everybody who has tried to get on so far is in.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, well, to start the welcome to the regularly scheduled committee board 5 meeting for this month. Is Donald on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Donald's got the flag. Let's salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
which stands
one nation under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Donald. The first order of business tonight is a public hearing on the application BSA number 59976BZ for 700272 Place, Block 3664, Lot 7, Glendale, in the matter of an application, City of New York, Board of Standards and Appeals, by Eric Palatnik, to reopen and amend the term of the previously granted variance, which expired on December 21st, 2016, for a term of 15 years. The variance permits an existing two-story use Group 17 factory for FM brush with accessory storage in an R41 zoning district. Is there anyone speaking in behalf of the applicant?
Hi, my name is Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik PC. How are
Thank
you?
you.
You even opened up with most of the things I was going to say, but on the phone or on the meeting with us tonight is the architect Frank and the owner Jeff, and I can give a little background if you want, and then I would like to have Jeff tell you about the history of this operation. It's really unbelievable because they've been there for so many years, and his family's been in Glendale for a million years, and he can speak about that way better than I could because they've been there for so long. So I guess you already said it's in an R41 zoning district for FM Brush, which is an accessory storage and shipping building. You probably know it better than me. It's on 72nd Place. We're looking for 15 years. Sometimes we ask for 10, but we ask for 15 because we've been a really good neighbor for a really long time. We want to stay in this community, and the last application in front of the board was 15 years. So we would like to be consistent with that so we can stay in this community as long as possible. It's a use group 17 factory with 15,501 square feet. It's 2 stories. It's been in front of the board since 1976. What else can I tell you? FM Brush Company has been making brushes for over 90 years. The operation is from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The building is fully sprinklered. It was reviewed by the fire department in the last variance, and it's being re-reviewed by the fire department, but per the last time it was reviewed, it was fully sprinklered. Garbage is picked up once a week, and there's 2 to 3 times a day they get small box truck deliveries. What else can I tell you? And there's no outstanding violations on the property. If anyone has any questions, I would like first to have Jeff speak a little bit about his property, and then I would be glad to answer any questions.
Please describe what the business is and still doing, if it's the same business that we've known for 100 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff, do you want to speak about your business a little?
Sure, I'd be happy to, and
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the board for hearing this, for hearing our petition, and give you a little bit of background on this company. We're a Glendale family. My grandparents on both sides lived in Glendale. My father and mother were both born in Glendale. Both of my brothers were born in Glendale. One, who was my partner, was a graduate of St. Pancras. Actually, unfortunately, he passed away. And the timing of his passing away was when our variance was expiring. So I was a little distracted, as he was my brother and my partner. In any case, we began business 91 years ago in Evergreen Avenue in Brooklyn. We were there for approximately 12 years, and then we moved up to 6925 Cooper Avenue, right off Myrtle. And we were there for a bunch of years. And in the early 70s, we moved to our existing building, which we've been into for 50 years. So we're not only an American manufacturer, we're a New York manufacturer committed to the Glendale community that we've served for 70 years. And during that time, the the world has changed, but most of our procedures and most of our business has not changed. We manufacture artisan cosmetic brushes. We manufacture all small, tiny little brushes. Think of a pencil. That's the typical size of one of the brushes that we would produce. So we do not use large pallets and big, multi-wheel trucks. We're basically shipping in and out with UPS or with FedEx. In the manufacturing process, we will either manufacture the very top of the brush, which contains hair and a metal ferrule, and then assemble that onto a wooden handle. In some instances, we also we purchase brush tops and assemble them also in Glendale. We are an essential business. We supply brushes to the Department of Defense subcontractors, to law enforcement, as well as to cosmetic companies like the Estee Lauder Company. I'm proud to say I have 2 employees presently who are in their 80s, who have been with us over 40 years. So when I say we're a Glendale company, we're committed to the community. And I'm 3rd generation, but my brother's children, my nephew and my niece, are 4th generation, as is my son, Michael, who's 30 years old. So there is a succession plan in place to continue to produce, with your permission, the finest brushes made in America. Actually, the only artist brushes made in America. And they're made in Glendale, proudly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions for our applicant? Do you have any reason or plan? Oh, go ahead, Walter.
I know Vinny kind of explained the application, but I'd kind of like to hear it from the applicants in maybe an abbreviated form, so it's on the record. So we get it on the record.
No problem. This was a variance, and we're looking to extend the variance every so often. This had a 15-year variance. We're looking to extend it another 15 years. The board asks you to come back and re-review if it still fits within the neighborhood. So we're looking to extend that term another 15 years.
And what is the variance for?
It's to allow, this is in an R4-1 district, which is a residential district. So it's
a non-conforming use.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Is there any, Walter, any way that this could be grandfathered in as a permanent, so that they don't have to keep coming back and spending their money and time and energy?
I think it would not set a good precedent. They've been good neighbors. A lot of, the city planning and BSA feel that when you have to come back, you're going to be good neighbors. They've been great neighbors. We don't have one complaint from them. So, it's really just a kind of, we just, like to see them every 15 years. They're good people, and that's it, right?
If you could do us a favor, though, they don't generally let us have 15 years, and they just assume we're bad neighbors. If you could put into your report that we've been good neighbors and we can get a little extra time, it would be much appreciated.
We would, we'll probably have a Zoom committee meeting, and you make that ask there, and I'll ask the committee to vote that way.
Thank you so much.
We're very reasonable, and you guys are great. We'd love you there for another 90 years.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I wish there was more manufacturing in Glendale. I miss a lot of the knitting mills and a lot of my favorite restaurants. Obviously, I love to eat, but Glendale's etched in our fabric, and I'm proud to be in Glendale.
Well, thanks for being here.
It's a great honor for us in the community to have the only manufacturer of these artistic brushes in the country. In light of what we have, excuse me, growing a few blocks away, we're developing Hollywood East with the movie studios and production studios. So it's great to have a good landmark in Glendale, and we thank you.
Vinny, Fred had his hand up.
Go ahead. Fred?
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see this come as a variance every 15 years. That was typical for gas stations and uses like that. This seemed to me to be something that would be permanent, so I would ask the committee to consider that. It's not the ones and I recall typically seeing like gas station or something that uses fuel or is a higher level of manufacturing than this appears to be. I also was wondering if you can get the paintbrushes right at the location, or where are they sold?
Well,
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm well, thank you. Typically we sell through art stores, and we do not sell directly online, but we have customers that sell online. But if you look at fmbrush.com website, you're welcome to see the types of brushes that we produce, proudly. So I can't make any offers to you at this point in time. That would be inappropriate. But we supply the New York City public school system with artist brushes. We supply hospitals and volunteer groups with brushes. So we take our civic responsibility seriously. That's the Glendale way.
So are you a tenant or an owner?
I'm the owner. Mr.
Okay.
Curry, as I said originally, my partner, my brother Fred,
which I grew up with.
Which
I grew up with.
I wondered. I have to admit, I did look you up a little bit, and I think you're a little bit younger than my brother Fred, but he was a St. Pancras guy, and he married a Glendale girl, and unfortunately, they're both in heaven now. But fortunately, they're both in heaven. But that's who we are.
Yep.
So
Vinny, Ken has his hand up.
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, Jeff, I just wanted to commend you and FM for your 90 years or 70 years in Glendale. And I also think that the board should consider a more permanent arrangement with FM Brush because of the length of time and being the only brush manufacturer in the United States and being in Glendale. That's something that the board can actually build on and say, hey, this is where the brushes are made, in our town only. It's an idea anyway.
And if you look,
my soapbox.
If you look on the website Made in NYC, you will see that FM Brush Company is listed on there.
Right.
Thank you. Anything else on the matter?
Just a case of point, and I don't want to put mud on any parade. The challenge with making it permanent is that if you happen to sell one day and somebody opens up a car repair shop there or something that's not as friendly to the neighbors, it would carry over into that. So there are so many other things. I mean, we'll be, I think, happy to ask for 15 years, and we're not giving you a hard time because you're great people. But there's no telling how something sells and how it expands. So making it permanent, the city's just not going to do it. And our sentiment. We love it. We love you. And so every 15 years we want to see your face, Jeff. Come on.
Well, it may not be my face in 15 years, but it'll be probably my son's face because we're committed to the community. That's why we've stayed and resisted resisted any out-of-state offers because we're a family business.
May I also just say that when you have a variance on your property, the board can write into the resolution that it's required to be the operation as is, and you have to come back for an amendment if you change that operation. So you could recommend something like that as well. You can talk about that, but it sticks. What is permitted on it is only what is permitted by the variance, and there can be conditions on that variance, and that your board can suggest. And then if something changes, then that person will have to go back and seek an amendment from the board.
Okay, so we're going to turn this over to Walter and his committee. And Walter may call you.
Ken has his hand up again, Vinny. I'm sorry. You lowered it, Ken? You're muted, Ken.
Oh, okay now?
Yep.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Well, I figure we'll get to see your son in 15 years, then, right?
God willing.
Turn it over to, we're going to
And you'll
turn
be
it
next
over
to-
to the committee.
And Vinny will be
And
here.
Walter may call you to discuss what the committee is going to recommend. And then he'll present it to the board. Anything else we need to discuss on this matter? If not, we thank you for your participation. And with that, we'll close this portion of the public hearing. And the next item of business is a public hearing on BSA application 36049BZ at 69-05 Elliott Avenue, Block 2838, Lot 38, Middle Village. Again, Eric Palatnik for extension of a variance for term which expired 25/2015. Wow. For continued use of a gasoline service station, BP, with accessory uses for a 10-year term in an R41 zoning district. And just before you make your presentation, whomever it is it actually owned by BP or someone else? Who's presenting for this matter?
Elise again. Thank you for Elise Boldare from Eric Palatnik PC. Thank you so much for having me. Unfortunately, this is not as feel good as the last application. I wish it was. But I will say who owns it first. I'll let you know. Just going to open it up to make sure. Okay. So yes, this is owned not by British Petroleum. They're the lessee, but they're filing this application.
Okay, so the first thing is, who should the real applicant be? The property owner or the tenant?
So in this situation, BP maintains the site. So that's why we're filing on behalf of BP, and they'll make sure that all of any recommendations or anything that the board recommends to change on the site or upgrade landscaping, signage, they'll be responsible for that, and they will update that site. So
But
that
my
is why
concern is that we have no real cause to the tenant. We have cause to the property owner that should be applying for the application.
So you're required to file, if you do a lessee, the owner has to file with the lessee. So that's why we do an owner's authorization.
Okay, so you need to give us the owner information.
Okay, so
Formally, not now, in writing.
Do you have the full application? Just wondering because it was filed with, because I can do a Dropbox link too, but it has the affidavit of ownership and the affidavit of lessee.
We'll check that at the office.
Okay, because those are were both filed with the application.
Oh, thank you.
This application it did expire in 2015, but I want to tell you how it came to be.
And
So
again, reiterate who the owner is.
the owner is Elena Locus, or it's not Elena Locus, she's filed on, it's Lee Milts Petroleum Inc. And that's the owner affidavit. And British Petroleum is the lessee. And I represent British Petroleum, but the case is filed on behalf of both of them because it has to be.
So why are we listening to you and not the owner's applicant?
Because I file on behalf of both, but I file for the party that's going to maintain the site and upgrade the site.
Okay.
Vinny, this is Gary.
It works similar in like.
Hold on. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I should have put it in here who the owner was. But normally the applicant is the representative. So in other words, Elise, correct me if I'm wrong, but almost always Eric Palatnik's office or any other firm representing the owner is going to be the applicant on behalf of either the owner or the lessee. That's just common practice. We do have the full application in the office.
Thank you.
I just want to say that everyone's been notified, but I don't know if you have a lot of like PCE applications in front of you often with gyms or spas, but that too, you file on behalf of the person who rents that space because they maintain that space and need all the licenses for that space in a greater building that usually has a separate owner. So it's the same.
So the reason I ask this is because the public does not have access to these documents unless they look them up. So that's why I ask you who you're representing and go through the whole process, please.
So we're asking for another 10 years. This was a this was filed originally in 1949. It's a pre-61 variant. So it's been there for 70 years about. The reason it expired in 2015 is it was a different applicant, and British Petroleum asked our office to go through all of their BSA sites, look up every single one. I've filed a lot of BP sites recently and find all the ones that are expiring or have been expired and make sure that they're now legal. So this was in that like list of 10 cases that we found were about to expire or had been expired. And we weren't the previous applicant, so we hadn't notified. It was, I think, a Getty before. So it wasn't British Petroleum operated. So now it's British Petroleum operated, and it's part of a larger project to make sure that all BPs are operating legally. So it is 5 years expired, but we did pay fees for it being late, and we're now looking for another 10 years, and we're trying to comply now. British Petroleum.
Again, you're reinforcing my position here. That the application should be for the property owner for the variance to use this property for the purpose you're applying, not for the tenant. So Getty was a tenant, BP is a tenant. So this application should be for in favor or for the property owner, not the tenant.
The property owner is responsible for it. You have to do an owner's affidavit and an affidavit of lessee, and they're both responsible for the property. But we represent British Petroleum, making sure that all their sites are legal and compliant.
Which we, you know, again, talking for the people out on the street that are listening, you're not representing the property owner. So you're asking for this matter on behalf of the tenant who has no legal liability for the property.
I mean,
even though it could be a net, you know, triple net lease, the application should be on behalf of the owner of the property. That is my point. So what I'm saying to you, I think you should withdraw this application and refile it on behalf of the property owner.
That's a little confusing to me because they are part of the application. You have to do an owner's affidavit. They have to be a part of the application. So I'm filing on behalf of both of them, but BP is going to update the site.
But in a legal matter, if the city goes against the property owner for its usage,
they're responsible.
It has to track down all of the tenants, and therefore it should be against the property. The property owner on a variance should be asking for the variance, not the tenant. So I think you should withdraw this and reapply on behalf of the property owner.
Okay, this is standardly how they do it. So everybody who operates the site has to be in compliance and
this is Community Board 5. Okay. We're a city agency. We're liable for the safety and security and legality of the city of New York and our residents. And I'm not a lawyer. I never was, never wanted to be. My aunt was a great lawyer. But I think the application should be made on behalf of the property owner, not the tenant.
I understand what you're saying, but it is on behalf of both of them. So they're
That's
both
not what-
buyers.
That's not what you applied.
I'm saying
Okay.
that I represent British Petroleum, but you have to notify the owner and they have to be part of the application as an owner's authorization. It's filed with the application in order to come before you. Because
Well,
they're responsible.
I'm one person. I disagree. Board members, it's open for discussion.
Vinny, I honestly, this is John. There is no reason that you should be putting up such a fight. This should get sent to the committee, just like the other one, because everything that I'm understanding about this process, this is being filed correctly. The committee should be determining that, because I feel like you're doing a little bit of committee work right now.
Okay. Thank you, John. I agree.
Thank you.
So we'll
Vinny, Fred has his hand up.
go ahead, Fred.
The previous application we just discussed said FM Brush Company on it, which would be the tenant, and Jeff was the owner of the building, and we proceeded and we discussed it.
Okay, let's turn this over to committee for further review. But it's my personal opinion that when we issue a variance, and Fred not Fred, was it Fred or, oh God, the Mink family owns the property, so that's a difference, Fred. My personal opinion is the property owner should be applying for the variance, not the tenant. But we'll turn this over to committee.
We'll take it up in committee.
Thank you. Walter will contact you and talk about it further.
Ken has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Vinny, would it be correct that the tenant and the property owner have both their names on this application?
They do.
That's what she said, and that's what it is.
Standard that way.
But if the legal responsibility, you go back in history, I got a piece of land. I'm going to authorize someone to use that piece of land. You authorize the property owner. The property owner could do whatever they want with that piece of land. They can rent it to a salami stand, a pizza parlor, whatever fits in their variance that they're asking for.
Okay.
But the liability is the property owner. So I'm just, as I get older, I get more curious and look into these things. All right, so we'll pass it on to committee.
We have some rather odd businesses coming in
Yes.
here and there that can cause problems. I agree.
Well,
Okay.
this application, I just want to say, is filed on behalf of both. And,
Okay, so Walter will get in touch with you and carry this matter further. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Next order of business is the public forum. Because we're online and this stupidity that we're dealing with, we have received some statements that we'll read. Is it Laura or Gary going to read any statements in the public forum?
Vinny, I'll read a statement from Cures.
From whom, Gary? Speak louder.
From Cures.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've received a statement from Mary Parison Laval, who's the chairperson of Civics United for Railroad Environmental Solutions. And she writes, I hope you and yours are well. Tonight, I am respectfully asking Community Board 5 members to share this information with your civic organizations and consider passing 3 board resolutions. First, please ask the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to deny a permit to Omni Recycling, which wants to open a new waste by rail facility in Brentwood, Long Island. What I'm about to share with you is not good. Omni Recycling proposed transfer station would ship 2,300 tons a day of construction and demolition debris, residue, and municipal solid waste from Brentwood, Long Island into CB5. ORB wants to put 1,000 rail cars into constant circulation to serve this facility. ORB will not store rail cars at their site. Rail cars will leave their facilities twice a day. ORB's application means that about 250 more full and empty cars of waste will be hauled, staged, switched, classified, and interchanged in CB5 neighborhoods each week. Because the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation permits waste transfer stations on a site-by-site basis, DEC doesn't consider freight rail capacity issues or the cumulative impacts of its permitting on CB5, including adverse impacts resulting from the operations and facility limitations of the New York and Atlantic Railway. New York and Atlantic Railway recently told CB5 local businesses and residents that they have to store unsightly graffitied rail cars up on the bridge at Myrtle Avenue and Fresh Pond Road because NYA has nowhere else to put them. So how is there room for 250 more rail cars a week? District Manager Gary Giordano and Chairman Vinnie Arcuri have received information, including an online link to the permit application. Second, please pass a resolution that asks New York State Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie to get Assembly Bill A 3269 passed. Then if ORB's permit does get approved, at least ORB will be required to contain construction and demolition debris residue under solid covers. Open rail cars of C&D residue emit particulates and stinking leachate. These cars must be covered, and DEC has refused to pass regulations to cover them, the way trucks already have to cover. So DEC is considering ORB's permit application in a regulatory vacuum that leaves covering rail cars of C&D residue up to the applicant. ORB's application says they will abide by railroad tariffs, but the only tariff for C&D residue is the CSX tariff for pervious orange netting. Many of you filled out postcards asking for passage of A 3269, which is still sponsored by Assemblyman Brian Barnwell and co-sponsored by Assemblywoman Kathy Nolan, Assemblyman Mike Miller, and a score of other Assembly members. Our Senator Joe Adabo got the Senate version of the bill passed again this year. Our Congresswoman Grace Meng got legislation passed in the House of Representatives. Now the New York State Assembly must act to protect the health of communities. Third, please pass a resolution asking LIRR to use money the New York State Legislature already gave them to cost efficiently repower and reballast MP15 switchers to Tier 4 emission standards for the New York and Atlantic Railway to use. The way things stand today, the 1,000 rail cars ORB proposes to put into circulation will be hauled around by New York and Atlantic Railways antiquated, high-polluting locomotives. Vito Maranzano started advocating to stop this locomotive pollution when he was president of the Glendale Property Owners. His campaign continued through the work of this board, including giving 100 of my neighbors and me a public hearing. Then a coalition of civics came together as cures, and CB5 elected officials got funding to clean the community air. Assemblyman Hevesy has sponsored bills that put $21 million in the Long Island Railroad's hands to repower the New York and Atlantic Railway's fleet to Tier 4 emission standards. And she cites controller's contract DR 36644. All LIRR has to do now is issue a cost-efficient RFP that retrofits old MP15 locomotives with Tier 4 power and pollution controls as other railroads already have done. Tier 4 repowering of old locomotives is a practical, cost-efficient way to reduce air pollution from this source by at least 95%. At a time when COVID has shown us how vital wholesome air is, LIRR needs to use the people's money to protect community health. Thank you very much for taking the time to consider this request. Mary Parison LaValle, Cures, President of Cures.
We'll turn that over to a combination of environmental and Public Transportation Services Committee to report back to us on this matter.
Vinny, if I could butt in.
Go ahead.
The important part of this, in my opinion, for tonight, even without the committee taking it up, is to oppose the first item, which is the proposed transfer station in Brentwood, Long Island, railing 1,000 rail cars into constant circulation. And she's citing 250 more full and empty cars of waste being hauled, staged, switched, classified, and interchanged in CB5 neighborhoods each week. And the reason I say that is I think that there is a deadline of October the 31st to comment with regard to the matter. The other two issues are not as imperative.
Okay, so is there anyone wishes to discuss this matter? No.
Yeah, well, it's Walter Sanchez. Before we make a resolution, I think it's standard that we send it to committee. I mean, this is an emergency.
That was my point, Walter.
Even the first one, Gary, I mean, all due respect, I don't know how that affects Community Board 5. Maybe it does. Maybe it means stuff, but we don't know. And the committee's got to go over that. I understand there's a deadline, but I think it should all be sent to committee.
Okay, so the issue here is that all these rail cars that would be coming in here have nowhere else to go. They all are going to be coming into Glendale because that's the only freight rail yard on this end of Long Island.
No,
they're all coming in here.
Nothing goes in or out of the 5 counties, Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, Suffolk, without coming through Glendale. It's the only way the rail works. That's the question.
Okay. So there's so many ramifications. We can't, vote on a. We just brought up to us. I don't think it's right to vote on something like that. You might think it's very important. Maybe I do, but the committee's got to look at it. We can't vote on it tonight. I don't think it's proper.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, Richie Huber, can I
Go ahead,
make a quick comment? By us limiting how many trains and such can go through there could increase the amount of trucks going through our city, which are a lot less efficient and more and possibly more polluting, so long as we get some higher tier rail way cars here in Glendale. Just something for the committee to think about.
No, that was the justification that they proposed to reduce truck traffic, do everything by rail. But again, I agree with Walter. I think it's committee work, unless anybody wants to propose a motion at this point in time.
May I say something?
Hold on.
The one thing I would say is if you guys can please use your raise hand function, because it's going to get tough to manage other than that.
Yeah, Peggy, don't raise your real hand, raise your electronic hand.
Okay.
I just raised it.
But Ken is first.
I just had a question. I missed the date. What is the date that they want to do this?
Harry?
Is there a deadline?
Comments are due by October 23rd.
Oh, we're very close. We should
Okay.
get committee meetings in before that.
And
now
committee meetings anytime you want.
Yeah.
And now Peggy had her hand up.
Okay. Doesn't matter if we have a committee meeting. If we want the board to make the resolution, we're not going to have another meeting before the deadline. And the fact that all these rail cars will be coming through Glendale, there's no other place for them to go. Every piece of freight that goes by rail from the tip of Long Island to the bottom of Brooklyn goes through Ridgewood or Glendale, and we don't need 250 more cars going through, especially ones that are not covered properly and casting off all kinds of crap and building debris and solid waste. I think at least that part of the request should be considered.
Okay, so that's the point I made. If anybody wants to make a proposal, John Meyer next.
I would like to just recommend that we pick this up because of the deadline. I agree with Peggy. It can't go to committee and come back. It's too late. We've already missed our chance. I think this particular piece should move to new business at the end, and we can talk about it. We can table it. We can do whatever, but we should address it if we're going to address it. It doesn't do us any service to make it committee work that's going to happen at the end of the month and then come back in November.
Okay, so John, remind me under new business that there may be a resolution proposed. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Nothing else under the public forum. If not, we'll go to the chairperson's report. That's me, Vincent R. Curie. I have to track down all my paperwork. Which is very confusing when I'm doing it electronically. So give me a moment to get my brain working. Okay. So under the chairperson's report, we got liquor, wine, and beer license applications. No new liquor licenses. Liquor license renewals. Krolejewski Jadio of Ridgewood, Inc., 6621 Fresh Pond Road. O'Reilly's Daughters doing business as Yerman's Pub, 7026 88th Street. New wine and beer licenses. Mary Restaurant Corp. doing business as Estrella Del Mar, 552 Seneca Avenue. No wine and beer license renewals. Other notifications. El Montanaro Bakery Restaurant, Inc., 5521 Myrtle Avenue, Ridgewood, is applying to New York State Liquor Authority for class change of their current restaurant wine license to an on-premise liquor, wine, beer, and cider license. Bermeo Food Corporation doing business as El Manaba Restaurant, 341 St. Nicholas Avenue, Ridgewood, is applying to restore their method of operation after having their method of operation restricted by the New York State Liquor Authority due to COVID violations. That means they got shut down during COVID for operating. Building demolition construction notices, Glendale, 781562 Street garage demolition. Nothing in Maspeth, nothing in Middle Village. Ridgewood, 5519 Metropolitan Avenue, interior demolition. That's the end of that.
May I make a comment on the beer and wine?
Go ahead.
Kaluski Jadwo is changed its name to Okresa.
I'm sorry, Krolushki Jadio of Ridgewood Inc.
Yeah, but the restaurant is no longer called Kaluski Jadwo. They've taken away the night and the name on the building is Okresa.
So you're saying they're doing business as what?
Okresa.
How do you?
Okresa.
O-P.
OK as in king.
O-K-R-S.
R-E-S-A.
Laura will look that up and follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the next item of business on the chairperson's report is the capital budget priorities.
Oh, hold on, Vinny. Ken?
Go ahead, Ken. Ken?
You're muted.
I'm unmuted. With the one notification, the second one, Beerman Food Corp. Now they want us to approve their liquor license, being they were closed down because of a COVID violation. What was the violation?
Yerman's Pub you're talking about?
No, under other notifications. The second, number 2.
Per mail. Yeah.
Laura has her hand up. Maybe she has an answer.
Yeah, we did get a letter from the attorney with regard to that, or their processing agent. And he said that they were applying to restore their original method of operation that's on file with office. The establishment was in violation of COVID rules, and the New York State Liquor Authority closed the business and allowed them to reopen after paying a fine and restricting the hours and music. There are no additional changes being sought at this time, just to restore to the original hours and allowing music. So that was as much as we got out of it. I think that they had people inside the facility, and they were found not only being in violation for having patrons inside, but
So they're one of the
I don't think they had masks on.
facilities that paid $150,000 to the city in fines. Okay. Go ahead, Ken. Okay. All right. So we'll go back to the capital budget priorities. The executive committee sent out our recommendations. The board members reviewed them and came back with their recommendations. Executive committee, do we have any comments and recommendations on the capital budget priorities?
Yeah, it is Walter Sanchez. I'd like to recommend.
Can't hear you, Walter. You got to speak up.
I'd like to make a resolution that we follow the board's actual vote.
Not a vote. It's a recommendation.
Our board's recommendations as they came back from the board members, and that's the resolution that we make.
So Walter recommends that we accept the priority listing of the full board as returned in the survey results.
Peggy?
Second it.
Okay, any question, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? Thank you. I'd like to thank the board members for their attention to what we recommended, the executive committee recommended. There really was no big difference in the top 10. And that's what the borough president reviews. And there was really no difference in the top 20, actually. So I thank you all. Okay.
Vinny, this is Ted
Yep.
Renz.
Go ahead, Ted.
I don't know when you want to do this, but shouldn't we take the attendance for the record?
Well, yes, we'll get to that.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The expense budget priorities. What am I doing? I got confused now. So that's the budget, expense budget. There were some comments. We have to vote on the expense budget. Am I getting confused or not? Capital, we did. Expense budget. Any recommendations or on that?
I propose that we accept the expense budget as presented by the executive committee to the membership unchanged.
Thank you. Seconded?
I second it. I'll
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed, abstentions?
No.
Okay. Lost track of where I am, I'm sorry. Oh, God. What happens when I'm sitting home? Okay. Trying to go through paper.
Can I ask a question, Vinny? Normally, we would do this by a roll call vote. Why aren't we doing that?
What's that?
These.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, John.
Thank
So
you.
let's go back to the capital budget. Gary, if you would call a roll. John corrected me on that. I said working from home is terrible.
Okay, so
On the capital budget priorities, as were recommended by the entire board, Gary, please call the roll.
Vinny?
Yes, who's
This
that?
is Kathy Sumsky. How do we know how the board voted? Will we get a copy?
I thought you did.
We did.
Laura?
I did, but I didn't get a finalized one. I got one where I just voted.
No,
No, Laura, speak.
Yeah, I don't think we sent out the finalized version.
Yes,
sent
we
it to
did.
the executive committee members, but we did not get it out to the board members.
I got
Okay,
it.
so
Well, you
You're
got
on
it
the
because you're on the
executive
executive
boards.
committee.
I stand corrected.
I can send it
Oh.
now.
Hold on. Like I said, trying to find paper and do this at home is really stupid. Okay. So, after the board recommended and the surveys went out to the full membership, the following listing of capital projects were recommended by the full board. Number one, redesign and reconstruct sewer systems in portions of CB5Q area having worst flooding problems. Number two, reconstruct Wyckoff Avenue from Flushing Avenue to Cooper Avenue. Number 3, replace existing bridge on Grand Avenue over Newtown Creek in Maspeth. Number 4, reconstruct sidewalks, curbs, and pedestrian ramps along Myrtle Avenue from Fresh Run Road to Wyckoff. Number 5, rehabilitate Ridgewood Reservoir, Phase 2, and the surrounding area, including portions of Highland Park. Number 6, reconstruct deteriorated catch basins and provide new catch basins in CB5Q area. Number 7, reconstruct Benninger Playground in Ridgewood. Number 8, provide new street tree plantings and provide funding for stump removals, planting of replacement trees, and street tree removals. Number 9, reconstruct softball field area and basketball courts at Rosemary's Playground. Number 10, provide replacement of the synthetic turf field and running track at the west end of Juniper Valley Park. Number 11, provide safe public access to Newtown Creek and construct an athletic field at the DEP Newtown Creek Aeration Facility property. Number 12, extend street roadway widening along the south side of Metropolitan Avenue between Woodhaven Boulevard and Aubrey Avenue. Number 13, reconstruct South Middle Village streets. 14, reconstruct Dry Harbor Playground Phase 2 to also include nearby tunnel and pathways. 15, reconstruct Evergreen Park Playground Phase 3. 16, make capital improvements to improve pedestrian and vehicle safety on Grand Avenue at 69th Street, at Grand Avenue LIE eastbound Service Road, and at the 69th Street LIE Service Road intersection. Number 17, continue comprehensive study of the sewer system in the CB5Q area and throughout Queens County, considering flooding problems and anticipated future growth. Number 18, improve Myrtle Avenue commercial strip from Fresh Pond Road to 82nd Street. 19, replace or repower polluting stage 0 freight engines hauling New York City municipal waste through District 5, Queens. 20, reconstruct Fresh Pond Road from Myrtle Avenue to Elliott Avenue and provide traffic facilitation improvements. 21, reconstruct Palmetto Street from St. Nicholas Avenue to Seneca Avenue and from Onderdonk to Forest Avenue. 22, evaluate the structural condition of the elevated portions of the M train line in CB5Q, perform repairs, abate lead, and paint the structure. 23, construct new school space where needed in CB5Q, including a new high school, and perform capital upgrades to existing school buildings. 24, reconstruct DeKalb Avenue, Halsey Street, and Jefferson Street BMT L train stations. 25, provide historic lighting and restore deteriorated curbing along Fred Hollis, Union Turnpike Mall, Myrtle Avenue to Woodhaven Boulevard. 26, reconstruct and widen the east sidewalk of 80 Street on the 80 Street Bridge over the Long Island Railroad and review the structural stability of the bridge. 27, reconstruct Long Island Railroad and 71st Avenue Bridge abutments above the Cooper Avenue underpass and paint the Long Island Railroad Bridge. 28, rehabilitate the 104th Precinct interior. 29, establish a community recreational center at a site in Maspeth. 30, reconstruct 75th Street from Elliott Avenue to Juniper Boulevard North. 31, install mini comfort stations at Star Playground, Benninger Playground, and Uncle Vito Maranzano Playground, which is 70 and Central Avenue, Glendale. 32, provide funding for the establishment of a dog run in CB5Q. 33, provide toilet facilities in area of Juniper Valley Park bordered by 80th Street, Dry Harbor Road, Juniper Boulevard North, and Juniper Boulevard South. Okay, what's your pleasure?
Peggy has her hand up.
Go ahead, Peg.
I don't have my hand up.
Do, I'll lower it, okay?
Go.
Kathy?
Kathy Massey does. Hello, Kathy.
You're muted. You're muted.
Hello, Kathy.
I think before we go further,
Speak louder, please.
I think we need to take an attendance before we start taking roll calls on motions.
Well, we'll do that next. How's that?
That's great.
We're very flexible
Good.
because we'll do the attendance as we have voting. How's that?
Simultaneously.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Miss Laura, will you call the roll and attendance at the same time on this vote? Okay, if not, I'll do it. Hold on.
Gary has the roll call.
Hold on, Gary's got his hand
Yeah,
up.
let me do this.
Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Adhikari, are you for?
Present?
Yeah, present. And you mean the board also?
The vote on those
We're
capital
doing it
budget items.
simultaneously, yes.
Yeah.
Say present and yes or no.
Yes.
Vinnie Arcuri,
Yes, 4.
Antonetta Benanti,
Or
Eric Butkowitz,
4.
Robert Shamelli,
Yes.
Walter Clayton.
Yes.
Yes.
Pat Crowley,
4.
Brian Dooley, Jerry Drake, Dmitro Fitkowski,
Present and 4.
Stephen Fiedler,
You're here, Steve. Where are you? I guess Steve is not voting.
He's muted. Can Mark unmute him?
I've tried and I invited everybody to unmute.
He's on the phone, I think. Okay.
What
I
about
heard him.
Dimitro? What'd you do with Dimitro?
Dimitro said he was there in 4, and Steve Fiedler said he was in favor.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Garang,
4.
Fred Haller,
4.
Fred Hofferly,
4.
Rich Huber,
Present and in favor.
Paul Kersner,
4.
Marianne Latanzio,
Present.
Oh, you missed Christina. You missed Kinga.
Yes, I vote for.
Thank you, Kinga.
thank you. Ed Latow.
Oh, you missed Marianne now.
No,
Back up, back up, back up.
Marianne Latanzio,
Present and 4.
Ed Latow, Mike Leendo, John Meyer,
4.
Patricia Maltesas,
4.
Edgar Mantell,
4.
Kathy Massey,
Present and 4.
Eileen Maloney,
Wake up, Eileen.
Eileen was here, right?
Hello.
Eileen Maloney,
Eileen, you're muted.
Oh, am I muted?
Oh, God help me.
She was here. I saw her.
Okay, we'll count her as 4.
Peggy O'Kane,
4.
Michael O'Kane,
4.
Eileen, here you are.
Don Pasentino,
4.
Are you there? I'm here.
is Eileen Maloney there?
I'm here.
You're
Oh,
not-
are you in favor?
She's only partially there.
I am in favor.
Thank you. Mike Porcelli,
4.
Ken Rayberger,
4.
Ted Renz,
Present and 4.
Kelvin Rodriguez, Kelvin Rodriguez,
I don't
Luis
believe-
Rodriguez.
I don't believe he's here.
Okay, thank you. Luis Rodriguez,
Here. 4.
Lee Rottenberg,
4.
Walter Sanchez,
Yes.
Carmen Santana, Dennis Steffen,
4.
Kathy Sumsky,
4.
Megan Taddeo.
Haven't seen her.
Okay. Gayanal Tapa,
4.
thank you. Barbara Toscano,
4.
thank you. Patrick Trinchesi,
4.
Michaeline Von Drathen.
Haven't seen her.
Yeah, I don't think she's here. Mariana Zero,
She was here.
She was here.
She was here. Mariana,
Muted. She's muted.
count her as yes.
Present and 4. I don't understand this phone.
thank
don't
you.
either.
You did good.
I did
Nan
good.
Zhang. Nan Zhang here?
No.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that everyone?
think so.
Okay. Thank you.
So what else do I have here?
I have a question on the budgets. Can I ask a question?
Who's that?
This is Suk.
So go right ahead, please.
Yeah, as a new member to the board, out of curiosity, how many of these projects will be funded? based upon the last year or previous year's record?
Vinny, do you want me to answer that?
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Okay, so Suk asked, based on last year and other prior years, how many of these projects will be funded? And my response to you is some of them are already funded or partially funded. And I'll give you some examples. Our number one priority for the sewer system, to rebuild the sewer system in portions of Community Board 5, we were able to get more than $20 million of funding for a large sewer project in Maspeth, Calamus Avenue and 69th Street that's completed in the last few years, and a large sewer project in the Penelope Avenue, 74th Street area, Middle Village. We're looking to get funding for sewer improvements in Glendale, specifically along 77th Avenue, mainly east of 76th Street. The project for Wyckoff Avenue is funded, but we keep it up there because it's probably a $35 million project at least, and that's our number two. The Grant Street Bridge project is city funded. They're going to need additional funding. That's our number three. But a lot of these projects are very, very expensive projects. Other projects are not funded yet. And typically speaking, in a given year, if you have 5 of your projects of the 30 some odd that are funded, you're doing pretty well. Some of these projects have been on the list for a long time. And especially with these difficult budget situation issues now, it's going to be hard to get them funded.
Gary, thank you very much, Gary.
You're welcome.
Sir. Okay, so we have
expense budget.
Yes, on the expense budget as distributed, have motion to accept. Hello? Anyone?
I make a motion to accept.
Seconded,
I second.
in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Nays?
Aye.
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 Again, I'm surprised this isn't a roll call vote.
Okay, John, you keep reminding me, and I'm sorry because of this stupid online stuff. So on the expense budget, Gary, will you call the roll?
Yeah, all the board members received a copy of that and were asked for their comments. And we only had one board member who wanted priorities changed. And I don't think you would want me to read those priorities.
No, go ahead.
Do you want me to?
No.
No.
Because the majority is in favor of what we produce.
Yeah, okay. All right, so in favor of the expense budget priorities that all of you received a copy of, Mr. Adhikari?
Yes, sir.
Are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Tony Benanti?
Favor.
Oh, you forgot me, huh?
Mr. Arcuri?
For?
Eric Buckowitz?
For.
Robert Chimelli?
For.
Walter Clayton? Walter Clayton?
He either fell asleep or died.
God.
Or stepped away?
Yeah.
So optimistic.
Pat Crowley?
For.
Brian Dooley? Jerry Drake? Dmytro Fedkowski?
For.
Stephen Fiedler?
For.
Thank you. Sue Garang,
4,
Fred Haller,
4.
Fred Hoffely, Rich Huber,
4.
Paul Kersner,
4.
Marianne Latanzio.
Hello, it's Kinga. You missed me again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I vote 4.
Okay.
Thank
Marianne Latanzio,
4.
Ed Latow, Mike Liendo, John Meyer,
4.
Patricia Maltezos,
4.
Edgar Mantel,
4.
Kathy Massey,
Are you making a Gatorade for tomorrow? Bet you didn't eat all that cereal yesterday.
Okay.
Kathy Massey,
Not brush my teeth.
4.
Eileen Maloney,
4.
Peggy O'Kane,
4.
Michael O'Kane,
4.
Don Passantino,
4.
Mike Porcelli,
4.
Ken Rayberger,
4.
Ted Renz,
4.
Luis Rodriguez,
4.
Lee Rottenberg,
4.
Walter Sanchez,
4.
Dennis Steffen,
4.
Kathy Sumsky,
4.
Gainel Tapa,
4.
Barbara Toscano,
4.
Patrick Trinchesi,
4.
Mariana Zero.
4.
Get everybody?
Walter
Mike
Clayton,
Porcelli
4.
has his hand up.
Walter
didn't
is
hear-
back.
Walter
Okay.
Clayton votes 4.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We have everyone.
Mike Porcelli has his hand up.
Hello, Mike.
Yes, what about?
What are you speaking about? You have your hand up.
Oh, I was just going to say that we just voted to confirm what we already voted on by turning in the survey.
No, Mike. Whatever you do on paper doesn't count. The official record of a community board meeting is the audio tape. And
Okay.
in current technology now is the audio tape plus the video. So thank you.
I got it. Okay.
Right. All right. Okay. If nothing else, I'll proceed with the comments from the elected officials. We have a written statement from Scott Stringer, the controller. Who's going to read that? Gary?
I can
I
read it.
will, Laura, if you want to read it, okay. Vinny, before you go further, the minutes of the prior meeting of September the 9th.
I thought I did that. I'm sorry.
We have
I'll
not
make a
done that.
motion to accept the minutes as proposed.
Rich Huber,
Seconded.
I'll second that
Accepted.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
I thought I checked that off, but okay. So
Now it's on.
statement from the state New York City Comptroller.
Okay. You want me to read?
Please.
Okay, they sent us a press release today and they asked us to read the top portion of it. Controller Stringer proposes free tuition at all CUNY community colleges and overhaul of New York City's workforce development strategy.
So when we're bankrupt, we should give out free stuff. Okay, go ahead.
The controller outlines comprehensive plan that will leverage CUNY to upskill New York City's workforce and compete in the global economy. Stringer's workforce development plan includes tuition-free community college, a universal paid internship program for CUNY students, more career and technical education and early college high schools, an expansion of certified apprenticeships, subsidized wage and bridge programs, and more. Stringer. in quotes. The pandemic has upended our economy and displaced thousands of workers. If we don't act right now to revolutionize how we support New Yorkers and get everyone on the ladder of opportunity, we risk leaving thousands of New Yorkers behind and deepening the inequality gap. And,
Okay, more free stuff. Next, we have a statement from the borough president. Joe, are you there?
okay, Joe, is he here?
I am here. I am here. Hello,
Okay.
everyone. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Gary. Oh, Paul Kersner is waving at somebody, and I'm sure it's not me because I haven't gone yet. Do you want to take Paul first?
No.
Okay. Sorry, Paul. The borough president, Sharon Lee, sends her regards, as do I. Two quick items. Reminding everyone to get out and vote if you have not done a ballot. Early voting starts on the 24th. If your polling place is in a newly designated red zone, on the 22nd, we will hear if that is going to be moved. And of note, please note that if you are doing early voting, your early voting polling place is not necessarily and probably not your regular polling place. So make sure you know where you're going. Secondly, Veterans Day event from the borough president, Borough Hall, will be virtual this year, and it will be on November 10th. And when I have a flyer and information, I will send to Gary, Laura, and Vinny to send out to everybody. And good to see you, and I wish you all well.
And in response to that, you may see a whole bunch of veterans at the Glendale Memorial anyway.
Okay. You know what? Great. That's great.
We'll let you know.
Okay. Thank you.
Paul, what did you have? Nothing. Marianne,
Yeah, this-
Latanzio.
This is for Joe. How do we find
Speak
out?
up.
How do we find out where our early polling site is?
I do not have the website address in front of me. I will get it to you tomorrow. But if you just put Vote NYC, I believe you will find it. The website, I just don't have the address in front of me. I should have, forgive me. And once you get in, you put your address and it will tell you where your early polling is and your regular polling. Early polling, you should have got something in the mail, but there is a website. I will send it tomorrow to Gary and he will send it out to you folks.
Thanks, Joe.
Sorry.
Kenny, what do you have, Kenny? Lower your hand.
Yeah.
I got it.
So are we able to drop off the affidavits on at Metro Mall at Board of Election?
I don't know.
Oh,
You just
Find
said
out.
it.
I'll find
Okay,
out.
no.
I'll find out. I don't know.
thank you.
Gary, what do you have?
The early polling site near us is at Metro Mall. 6626 Metropolitan Avenue is the closest site to us. And I think there's specific hours. I don't know them.
Yes, and no night. And thank you, Gary. I don't think there's any night hours. It's just day hours.
So why bother? Just vote no.
For early voting. At least it is my early voting, which is Borough Hall building. Interesting enough. So just make sure you check before you head out. So you're in the right place.
Peggy O'Kane.
I was just going to say, I got a notice and that my early voting place is Rentar Plaza, but I'm confused. Do we go up on the roof or do we try to get in on the ground level?
You go in the parking lot. There's a garbage can and you throw your ballot in.
Some of us
Go to your regular poll on election day. Walter Sanchez.
For some of us in Maspeth, it's the Elks Lodge, the Elks Lodge, the Italian American building there on Queens Boulevard.
But check before you go. Check to make sure. Check.
And make sure you have to do it in English, not Italian. Yeah, okay.
Poor
Gary.
Paul. Poor Paul. He has his hand up. Can someone call on Paul Kersner?
I thought I did.
Oh, well, yeah, he's on mute. Paul, you're on mute.
Okay. He loves to talk to himself, but Paul,
Okay. One of the things that we ended
speak
up
up
with,
louder, louder.
one of the things that we ended up with at the executive board meeting last month was that the process of getting capital budget items approved and funded was going to require, as it always has required, people to take some responsibility for the capital projects that have to go.
Excuse me, Paul, are we doing general discussion right now? Because I was trying to recognize the other people that were present. Do you want to have a discussion later?
Whenever you want to, this is part of the capital budget.
Why don't you do it under old business, please?
Okay, fine.
Thank you. Okay. So we have a statement from Nydia Velazquez. Laura? Hello?
I'm here. Okay, so from Nydia Velazquez's office. Good evening, Community Board 5. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. The office of Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez has been up and running since we transitioned to remote work and is assisting constituents on casework relating to unemployment benefits, access, small business resources, immigration casework, IRS tax and stimulus issues, amongst other concerns. If any of the attendees are residents of New York Congressional District 7 and would like assistance, please email me at, and this is from Julio Salazar, julio.salazar2@mail.house.gov, or please call the office number 718-599-3658. From the start of the pandemic, our office has been working with small businesses from across the district. So far, because of the legislation that was passed earlier this year to address COVID's devastating effects, New York Congressional District 7 has received over $1.5 billion in PPP funds, over $18 million in EIDL funds, and $56 million in EIDL advances. The well-being and survival of our small businesses is an issue that remains a top concern on the member's agenda. As the chair of the House Subcommittee on Small Businesses, the member will exercise her committee's rights to advocate and advance reforms for additional transparency and a streamlining of the process to ensure our businesses can access these and future resources. Finally, the House of Representatives has passed a package to address the ongoing effects of COVID called the HEROES Act. Any final updates and information on a stimulus package will be sent directly to our community board, community leaders, and stakeholders as soon as there is a final resolution.
Very good. We also have a statement from Councilmember Holden.
Okay. All right. Hello, neighbors, Community Board 5 members, and fellow elected officials. I hope you all enjoyed the month of September while staying safe and healthy, and I thank you for your continued work and volunteerism as we navigate this challenging year together. Our city continues to battle the novel coronavirus, and we must continue our collective efforts to practice social distancing, wear masks, and practice good hygiene. The City Council continues to operate remotely. With the summer months over, our virtual hearings and stated meetings are beginning to pick up steam as we continue doing the work that impacts the lives of the 8.6 million New Yorkers. Yesterday, as the Technology Committee Chair in the New York City Council, I held a joint hearing with Councilman Francisco Moya on how the city can expand access to broadband to our residents. In an ever more connected world, our city should be a leader on broadband accessibility and ensuring internet access to all. We heard testimony from New York City Chief Technology Officer, New York City Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications, several advocates and constituents on the subject. With the current New York City budget being slashed by billions of dollars, our sanitation and parks departments have been hit particularly hard. Because of this, I recently reallocated discretionary funds to the sanitation department to restore public waste basket collection. And I brought another nonprofit sanitation company into our district to conduct more cleanups along our commercial strips. My office had organized several volunteer community cleanups and will continue to host more, including Saturday, October 24 at Frontera, Reef, and Mafera parks. I welcome everyone who would like to help clean our communities together to these events. We will be sending out more details soon. As always, feel free to contact my office with any of your questions and concerns. Thank you again for your dedication to our communities, and I hope to see all of you soon. Sincerely, Robert F. Holden.
And we have a statement from Assembly Member Barnwell.
Yes, and Vinnie, we also have a statement from the mayor's office.
Oh, okay, I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it came in a little later. So should I read Barnwell's first?
Go ahead, yes.
Okay, I'll read from Assemblyman Brian Barnwell. Good evening. I hope this email finds you well. Please find below our office's statement for the upcoming board meeting. Our office hopes everyone and their families are safe, healthy, and well, and thank you to the community board for their continued service to our community. Our office has been working on various COVID-19 related issues for constituents, such as issues related to food necessity, unemployment benefits, and much more. If you know of anyone that needs help, please do not hesitate to contact us. The Assembly is not meeting right now for legislative session, so unfortunately we don't have any legislative updates, but we believe the Assembly will likely be meeting towards the end of 2020. Our office will keep the community posted on any legislative news as time goes on. Our office will also be hosting many of the usual drives as we do each year, such as the turkey drive and the coat drive. We will also be having a toy drive as well. If you would like to donate to any of the drives, please contact our office or email Assemblyman Barnwell. We hope everyone continues to stay safe and healthy in these difficult times. And again, please reach out to us if you need help with anything. And their office number is 718-651-3185.
Okay, through the mayor.
Okay, just give me a minute because I need to pull that one up.
If not, do Officer Berich in between there.
Okay, I just am almost there. Just give me a second. Okay, we'll do Officer Berich.
Vinny, I could do the mayor's.
Yeah, I'll look for Officer Berich. It's here.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
go ahead.
All right. So this is from the mayor's office. Sent to us by Jessica Shabowski of the Mayor's Community Affairs Unit. We encourage all New Yorkers to get a COVID-19 test as well as a flu shot. Please go to nyc.gov/COVID test to find your nearest test sites. Please go to nyc.gov/flu to find sites near you that are giving out flu shots. The NYPD is undertaking a department-wide initiative that is aimed at transforming policing in New York City. There will be a listening session in Northern Queens this Friday, October 16th, that will be broadcast on Facebook Live. Please also see here for the NYPD feedback survey. And it's HTTPS. We could send this to you. www.surveymonkey.com/r/reform collaborative. Indoor dining reopened in New York City on September 30th. The mayor also announced that outdoor dining will be extended year-round and made permanent. The city will allow restaurants to expand seating to the frontage of adjacent property to incorporate heating elements into outdoor dining setups and to use tent enclosures to keep diners warm. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is October 27th, and early voting starts in 10 days on October the 24th to November the 1st. The city is partnering with curb to offer $5 off for the first 5,000 people going out to vote for early voting who participate. Folks can download the Curb app and use the code Vote Early between October 24th and November 1st.
Okay, could we read Officer Barish report?
Okay. So Officer Barish gave us the crime stats and crime stats for the 28-day period. Murder was down 1. Rape was down 3. Robbery up 6. Felony assault up 4. Burglary up 15. Grand larceny up 14. And grand larceny of auto up 10.
Very good, thank
We
you.
welcome Captain Hall to the 104th precinct. Oh, wait, there's more. Vinny?
Go ahead.
He has a few paragraphs here. We welcome Captain Hall to the 104th precinct as a new commanding officer. Captain Hall comes to us from his previous assignment as commanding officer of the 100th precinct. During this time in the 100th precinct, he has dealt with similar issues that we face here in the 104th. Captain Hall expresses his excitement to begin working together with the community. We have seen an uptick in crimes such as burglaries and grand larceny. Burglaries are a mix between residential and commercial. Some measures of security you can take to help prevent these crimes are using roll-down gates if you have them, having security cameras and making sure they are working, ensuring all points of entry are locked securely, using lights to brighten up the location. Do not leave any cash or valuables out in the open or in the register. Many times the individuals are trying to remove cash from the register. Felony assaults are majority related to domestic violence and are closed out to an arrest by patrol officers, domestic violence officers, or detectives. We continue to urge everyone to not leave valuables in your vehicles, along with not leaving keys or key fobs in the vehicle, as this provides an opportunity for your vehicle to be taken. This past week, officers made an arrest for graffiti. Officers were able to catch this individual in the act of making graffiti in the vicinity of Palmetto Street and St. Nicholas Avenue. While conducting a business inspection of a nightlife establishment on Wyckoff Avenue, officers issued numerous issues, as well as removing an illegal firearm from the establishment. If anyone has questions or concerns, please feel free to write or call. And that was from Officer Michael Barish.
Thank you. And Captain Hall was shocked, to say the least, that the 104th precinct is in the top 20 of the 72 precincts in New York City in index crimes, most of which are grand larceny, auto, because most of our stupid people leave their keys and credit cards in their cars, and they're broken into, and every credit card theft is a major crime. Okay, Gary Giordano, District Manager, or your report?
Excuse me, before Gary goes, I'm sorry, Gary, I have that that voting booth for you folks. It's findmypollsite.vote.nyc. I will put it in the chat. Sorry, Gary.
Okay.
Share that app for everyone.
Call you right back. Hello, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt someone?
Okay, I'll be brief because it's getting pretty late.
Yeah.
The sanitation department has already, you might have seen them out there, started having their crew members practice for the potential for winter snow.
They're out snow plowing on Sunday, yes.
Yeah, well, or simulated plowing. And as I think a lot of you know, we have neighborhoods adjacent to us or pretty close to us that are in the COVID red area because their numbers have risen substantially as far as the the number of, or the percentage of people infected by the COVID virus, and we are in the yellow area, coming from the east up to Forest Avenue and Ridgewood. We were behaving for quite some time, but I think certain portions of the city are getting a little bit too antsy. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a raid on an establishment that's right outside of Board 5 on 69th Street. I think it's Elite Palace at our northern border. So please wear a mask when you're near anyone. Keep washing your hands and keep socially distant. New York City did a great job at this for months and months and months. I was looking at newspaper articles going back to April, when there were like 700 and some odd deaths a day in New York City. And in a month or so, that was down to, still tragic, 50 deaths a day. So we came a long way. We don't want to go back the other way. So let's behave ourselves and try to eradicate this until we get a vaccine.
Thank you. Do some committee reports. Transportation, John?
Hello. We don't have a lot to talk about on the Transportation Committee. Couple of updates there. Still working on the painting of the elevated line. They are getting up to, they're prepping and getting ready to paint up to the Fresh Pond Road station. A couple of our longtime capital asks were on our capital budget request, and thank you folks for voting them up towards the top, like Wyckoff Avenue. Roadway surfacing is still ongoing in our community. Most of the milling has been done, most of the paving has been done, but there is a long lag between the painting. So I've seen roads that are now paved for about 4 weeks with no markings, which is not great. Really like to see that improve with the city. We did our usual round of traffic pedestrian safety requests. They're still coming into the board. Our next meeting, speaking of the meeting times, I believe is going to be, when did we decide? I don't see it in the
Hold on,
notes.
John. Let me check.
The 27th?
27, John.
Okay, so it'll be likely by WebEx on the 27th. So if you have an issue you would like to get in front of us, please get it into the board office before then, so it can be put on the agenda.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Nope.
I'll wait for new business.
All right, any other committees need to report? If
Hello? Where'd Vinny go? Did he drop out? I don't see him here.
Yeah, it looks like Vinny dropped out.
All right, what's next on the agenda till Vinny comes back? Gary?
Are there any other committees?
No other committees? Gary, what's next?
I don't think there are any other committees. So then we go to old business, and John, you want to speak to the issue of the potential for all those additional rail cars coming into the Glendale yard?
Well, I already know that there are certain groups, unfortunately, working with outmoded permits from the state, and that's where these permits are, and that's where we need to get our words into. And if the deadline is the 23rd of October, it's not enough time to get to the committee and back to us as a whole board. So I'd like to put forward a motion that we write a letter that is strongly against this permitted process, this permit being issued to this agency, because of the undue burden that it will put on our communities. Anybody else willing to second that? I mean, I think the word.
I'll second it. I'll second it, John.
The verbiage is in the letter from Cures that I think we could really use.
All right, so what's your motion, John?
The motion is to write a letter to the state DEC saying that we are not in support of this permit.
All right,
for the reasons outlined in the Cures letter.
On the question, any discussion?
Laura has her hand up.
Laura?
I just want to say Vinny is on the phone. He's trying to get back into the meeting. He wanted me to let you know.
Okay. He'll pick it up right from here.
He should be back in a second.
He's coming back in. He's connecting to audio.
All right, Vinny, we're on to, a motion was made to send a letter and seconded on the Cures issue.
Okay, I'm back.
A motion was made by John Meyer, seconded by Walter Clayton on the Cures issue to send a letter. And I just asked for any discussion on it, so you could take it over.
Could you repeat that, please? I just got back online. I'm sorry.
I put forward a motion, Vinny, that was that because we do not have enough time to send it to the committee and come back to the full board to get our letter of recommendation against this permit.
Which permit?
It's the permit for another C&D site out on the island.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. And in that, I would recommend that we use the verbiage that Cures has provided us to write a letter to the state DEC saying that it unduly impacts the communities outside of just that area, and we don't recommend it. And it was seconded by Walter, and we were just about to go to any kind of discussion or question.
Okay, so the reason for it is there's not enough time for the committee to meet before the deadline. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Michael Porcelli has his hand up.
So does anybody think that all this debris is going to disappear if we don't allow it to move by train? It has to go somewhere. It either goes by train or by truck. Would we rather have trucks?
No, that's not true, Michael. If you don't have a facility to do that work, it has to go through the facilities that are existing. So it's what you're doing by increasing a facility, adding a facilities, you're adding capacity. So you're actually creating more ability. It's a demand issue that you're also creating more.
John.
Yes, sir.
The point is that there are only 3 ways to transport solid waste from Long Island. It's by truck, train, or barge. And if they're not, if the facility is not located on the waterfront, that locks out the barge capacity. And as Michael said, the only other choice is truck on the expressway or trains on the railroad. It's a tough situation we're in because anything that comes and goes on Long Island, which is Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk, has to come through Glendale. The big thing we should be advocating for is sealed containers. That's our project.
And we are, and that one has more time, and we have been doing that for the last 2 years. Cures has been very actively doing that for the last 2 years. Right now, the question on the table is, do we create another facility to handle yet more of this or not? And we are recommending that until they clean it up, until they get better locomotives that are not tier 0, that we don't add that capacity in that manner.
Okay, so the question becomes from the legal standpoint, and we have several lawyers on the board, do we have standing in Suffolk County or within the state to determine whether there should be another facility established in Suffolk County?
The state DEC is asking for public comment. All Cures has asked us to do is support the issue of not just permitting outright another rail facility. And that can, it's not a matter of whether we shut it down. DEC is going to do what DEC does. We're just putting in public comment. We're adding commentary and we're adding voices to the mix. If they don't hear from anybody that there's issues with open containered cars, if they don't hear from people that there's issues that this waste by rail is impacting other communities other than the immediate site, they're never going to acknowledge it or hear it. We have to get that voice out there. That's all this is simply putting in public comment. It's we don't.
So they're seeking public comment from the state or from the county?
State.
Okay.
There's a bunch of hands raised. I'm gonna ask again, use the raise hand function on Zoom. I will keep muting people who don't have their hands up because otherwise the conversation is not going to be audible to anybody.
Thank you.
Ken has his hand up first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this basically is going to be, we would be backing and supporting Suffolk County, right? John?
That's my question. No, this is comment. This is adding public comment to the process. This isn't about pro Suffolk County or anti Suffolk County. This is about a facility permitting process that we're adding public comment to.
Okay. Do we know if Suffolk wants it?
That's not the issue. It's do we want it because it's going to have an undue impact on us.
It will. Yes, it'll have a major impact on us, I think. If, like Mike said, I mean, if they wind up using trucks, well, are they going to park 100 trucks in Glendale? I doubt it. So if they wind up going that way, which I'd rather they don't, and don't do any of that, but hey, maybe the trucks will go someplace else. It's not in my backyard. But I definitely am against them bringing more trains of waste through Glendale and Ridgewood.
Eric's hand is up. Eric, you muted.
Yeah, I just want a clarification on the issues, or what are the potential issues this proposes. So from what I understand, it's a facility in Long Island that's creating, 150 additional cars that are going through Glendale or Ridgewood. And correct me if I'm wrong, but these are older trains that pollute, and there's an issue with a lack of coverings. What waste? I heard waste. What type of waste are we talking about? I just want to confirm so it's clear on what the problems are here, the potential issues of these coming through the neighborhood. Is the issue, I know traffic is one of the issues, there's 150 train cars, but as far as the pollution and the type of waste they're carrying, can we just get a clarification on what are the issues with this particular development and what for our neighborhood?
It's 250 train cars that are additional that we know from the way the permit is written. The engines that are pulling these are rather old engines. A lot of them are tier 0 engines, which means they have no pollution regulation. These are longstanding issues within the community and within this organization that have been bringing these issues to the community board. the traffic, we are the nexus for east-west rail movement, north-south rail movement for the whole of Long Island. We are the nexus. The trains come through Middle Village, Glendale, Maspeth, and Ridgewood. All four of our major communities on our board are impacted by this. Like I said, the facility on Otto Road and the west yards between the Admiral Avenue area and the Fresh Pond traffic cordon are the nexus of all rail kind of moving east and west. And these cars would have to come down onto that, be stored. They're already being stored. The type of waste, from what we understand, Gary can correct me if I'm wrong, is construction and demolition debris. And these cars are not sealed. They're open. They have a very fine netting on top, which means that they absorb all the rainwater. They, if they're dry, because they aren't just like chunks of a house. I mean, they're literally put through grinders to get as much as possible in these cars. So they create a lot of dust as they're moving through communities. That dust is then, turned into a liquid goo that drips out of them. You can look into some of the wonderful lawsuits that have happened with Christ the King in the past because of some of these cars just sitting in our community. There's a lot of issues. So I think I've just covered a few of them.
Michael Porcelli has his hand up.
Okay. Nothing we do is going to stop this debris from being created. This transfer facility does not create the debris. It processes it. Then it has to ship it somewhere. It's going through this community board one way or the other, either by train or trucks on the LIE. They're both in this board. You're not going to stop construction on Long Island. What we can do is stress that we want the cars to be sealed. Like Vinny said, we want the cars to be sealed. You can't stop the cars from moving through or the trucks from moving through. Just try and work on getting them sealed.
I am trying to, I'm going to talk to the chair here. The chair, the motion is to send public comment. We are not shutting down a facility personally. We are not saying whether the facility can or cannot exist. We're saying why we don't think it should be permitted in the way it's being permitted because of its undue impacts, that being uncovered cars, et cetera, et cetera. These are the ways you get that across. We could just stay silent and nobody will know anything.
Kathy Massey has her hand up. You're muted, Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay. I think everyone's missing the point with Cures. It's been an organization that we've supported their efforts for, is it 10 years now, John? And
yeah.
Probably more than that, Kath.
All right, and they've been very active up until recently. I mean, I think they even had they still have meetings 5 times a year. And I don't think they're asking for much. They're asking for a support on an issue which we all believe in. And I think we should just move on with this and give them the letter. It's not about Suffolk County. It's not about Queens. It's about supporting Cure's agenda.
Okay, so why don't we restate the proposal that we made, John?
Could we ask Gary to read the original proposal?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Cures is recommending that we ask the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, to deny a permit to Omni Recycling, which wants to open a new waste by rail facility in Brentwood, Long Island. Omni Recycling proposed transfer station would ship 2,300 tons a day of construction and demolition debris, residue, and municipal solid waste, not only C&D, from Brentwood, Long Island into the CB5 area. Omni Recycling wants to put 1,000 rail cars into constant circulation to serve this facility. ORB will not store rail cars at their site. Rail cars will leave their facilities twice a day. The application means that about 250 more full and empty cars of waste will be hauled, staged, switched, classified, and interchanged in CB5 neighborhoods each week. Because the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation permits waste transfer stations on a site-by-site basis, DEC doesn't consider freight rail capacity issues or the cumulative impacts of its permitting on the CB5 area, including adverse impacts resulting from the operations and facility limitations of the New York and Atlantic Railway. New York and Atlantic Railway recently told CB5 local businesses and residents that they have to store unsightly graffiti cars on the bridge at Myrtle Avenue and Fresh Pond Road because NYA has nowhere else to put those cars. So how is there room for 250 more rail cars a week?
Okay. So we're not protesting what they're shipping. We're proposing to protest the amount of rail transportation coming in and out of our area. So forget, in the past, we talked about uncovered C&D trains. We talked about solid waste trains. And now we're talking about just the idea of 250 or to 1,000 rail cars being shipped due to this facility. And if you understand how the rail system works, they try to put together a train of 100 cars, and that they can't ship more than 2 a day in each direction if they're running passenger service on the same line. So from Suffolk to Queens, there is just one line that handles passenger and freight. Currently, the freight is moved all night long. So the question is, what are we proposing? We don't want any more trains on the line, or we don't want solid waste and C&D on the line? That's my question, John.
I would say what we're actually trying to make the DEC aware of is that the permitting is not just about the site in question being the square footage, a lot and a block. For waste transfer, the DEC needs to acknowledge that the permitting process has impacts far beyond that site, depending on whether it is truck or train. We can talk specifically about issues as to the failure of our current train infrastructure. And honestly, Vinny, for trains running in the wider world, which these are usually going further out to landfills in Ohio or down to Virginia, those trains are running in the lengths of miles at this point. And you can't assemble a mile train in Queens. You really can't do that with any ease. Or so it's not about, it's about questioning how the business is being operated and its impacts on our community. It is not saying we are against trains. It's not saying we are against shipping by rail. It's wanting it done right and wanting all of the impacts to be considered for this particular permit process.
Walter has his hand up.
Yeah, John, I understand your point, and the reason I can't vote for this is just really what you're saying. I would rather have it transported in by train than have trucks on the road. And I don't know what their entire plan is, which is really why I wanted the committee to look at it. Without the ability to have that, I can't really vote for it. However, I think the critical issue here is that, and I would vote for, all these train cars have to be sealed. And that's the major issue on this. But I'd rather have them on rail than on the roads, to be honest with you. But they all have to be sealed, and I'll support that 100%.
And I will say right now that the only reason we have sealed containers is because of the energy of Cures and getting Waste Management early on to commit to sealed containers for our municipal solid waste.
Very true.
Every bit of construction and demolition debris coming through this community is not in sealed containers. They have been advocating for this for years. It has not been able to get past the Senate and the Assembly and the state level. So we're trying on all different levels. And this is just one of those causes that we can put in words. It's not that we're asking all of you to get up tomorrow and go out to Suffolk County and sit at a board meeting. We're asking to just write a letter of support for the Cure stance that this is not the beneficial way to consider this permit.
May I say something?
Hang on, there's a bunch of hands raised. Rich Huber has his hand up.
Yes, I just did a quick Google search, and I included the link in the chat, basically from the Iowa DOT, that gives some degree of comparison, and it shows 216 rail cars is equal to well over 1,000 tractor trailers. So, I mean, that's an amazing amount of additional strain on our highway system, and again, to part of our community through the Long Island Expressway, and a lot more inefficient in terms of fuel and such. So at this point in time, I can't see the way we're stating it now to be in favor of this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Richard.
Kathy Massey. Kathy, I think you're muted.
Unmute. John Meyer, we're talking about the request to deny the permit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think we have to consider the fact that DEC cannot do a site-by-site permitting without looking at the whole picture and the impacts to where it goes. Is that correct?
The process is that that's what they're doing, and we are trying to make them aware that it is more than that.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to be clear on it.
Patrick Trinchesi.
I agree with everyone saying that if this does go through, which we absolutely have no control over, there's going to be a tremendous amount of traffic coming through our area. So just keep that in mind. My other question is, my question really is, who owns the rail lines that we're specifically talking about, and who are the operators?
If I may.
Yeah.
The Long Island Railroad, which is owned theoretically by the MTA, owns the rail line. The franchise is basically for freight is the New York and Atlantic Railroad. Passenger service is still under the Long Island Railroad. So New York and Atlantic is in the business of selling services. We are unique in the fact that nothing, absolutely zero, could come into Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, Suffolk County by rail unless it comes into the Fremont Fresh Pond yards in Glendale. So that's it. The trains from Long Island come to Glendale. They go up the New York Connecting Railroad. They go up to Selkirk and go across the river and come down the other side and go out to
Or go
California
west. Or go west.
Virginia. You know, the other way, they go down to through Brooklyn, through the Bay Ridge line, and they go to the ferries at 69th Street in Brooklyn, and they go across the river to Jersey, and they go south from there. There is no other way of getting anything in and out of Long Island except by rail or truck.
Eric?
Yeah, so I just want to maybe reframe this because it seems there's a lot of consensus that one, the rail is necessary to transport such materials, and two, that the pollution that the engines will be putting out on this particular proposal and the uncovered rail cars would be an issue with the level of traffic this proposal will bring for our communities. So perhaps a way to go about this, and maybe this is what John was proposing, and I think this is actually what John is proposing, that we put out a statement saying the impact that if this proposal proceeds as stated, not at all, right? If we put out a statement to the state and it says, hey, the issue we have with this proposal is that the rail engines will pollute our neighborhood and the uncovered rail cars will also have a negative environmental impact on our neighborhood, and that we think the proposal that could influence the state to force this company to amend its proposals to carry out a new proposal in a more environmentally conscious way to our communities. That is, with covered rail cars and with updated engines that are more eco-friendly. And I think that's the real crux of it here. It's not about rail or no rail. I think it's really about methods of transport, the method of using the rail. And I think what we really want to advocate for is that if the methods aren't changed to a way that's eco-friendly with covered cars, we could have a major negative environmental impact on our communities from this proposal. So just to reiterate, I think it's important that we do put out a statement, but the statement is specifically, and I think this is what John is saying, that the policy should be amended, and this could influence the state to push for this if we do put out this statement, or at least make them aware that this is an issue, that the policy should be amended so that this company, while they're transporting these cars, need to do so in a way where the rail cars are covered and that the engines are eco-friendly instead of the highly pollutant current engines that they will probably be using.
Okay.
I wouldn't argue with any of that.
Sounds good. John?
Yeah.
I'd still like to say something.
Well, you got to raise your hand, damn it.
Raise.
No, stop, Peggy. When it says raise hand, if you click on it, your hand is raised.
Hang on a sec, folks.
There you go. Now your hand is up.
All right.
Can I just cut in? Hang on, Peggy. Peggy, just for a second.
I'm letting you.
Paul is on an iPad. Paul can't figure out how to hit the hand raise thing.
All right, we'll talk to him. Let Peggy.
Physical
Let Peggy
hand
talk, John.
I think the main point here with what we are proposing is like a first step to reiterate to everyone in the state that they can't make a decision in isolation, that what they think of, what they're thinking of doing is going to affect us. I remember I was a founding member of Cures. I'm not active anymore, but I remember that they had universities do studies of the rail system and stopped at the borderline of the city as if the outside Nassau and Suffolk had no effect on us. What we want the state to realize is they have to consider their effect of the decision that they make on all the other things that are going to be affected by that decision. Am I right?
Yes. Okay. So let's hear from Chameli next.
Well, no, hang on.
John.
Please, let Paul Kersner speak. So he
John.
can get his hand. No, he can't find the button, Benny.
Okay, so push his button and let him speak.
I can't. Jesus.
I've now unmuted myself.
Oh my God.
Okay, Kersner, where are you?
There are three things that we have to include in this proposal.
If I could see him, he could have been on here, but go ahead, Paul.
All right. There are three things we have to do, and it has to be a carrot and stick approach. One, John is on the right track. You got to say no. And you say no for three reasons. And if you do all three things, we'll change our mind. One is the covering of the rail cars for the demo. Two, upgrade the MP15s or put in Jensen engines. And the third thing is to reactivate the Montauk flyover over Borden Avenue so that it goes directly into the New York connecting line over Hellgate Bridge. That Montauk flyover was put in by the Long Island Railroad at the turn of the last century because they knew then the amount of service freight. At one time, freight was bigger than passenger service on the Long Island Railroad. And the way they got it so that it didn't have to come to Glendale or to Ridgewood is they built this flyover. Because what it did, it took the farm produce, at that time it was farm produce, from Nassau and Suffolk County, and it went uninhibited from out there through the main line, over the Montauk line, and then it went over the Montauk flyover on Borden Avenue in Long Island City. And then it went over, that flyover took it over Borden Avenue and over the
Paul, can I ask you to address the motion on the table and not add like 6 years worth of thought and comment?
The flyover is there already.
Paul.
What?
He's correct. We have to address what we're discussing now. So let's hold that for a moment and we'll get back to you under new business. Bob Chimelli. Chimelli.
Do you hear me?
If you speak.
Do you hear me?
If you speak.
Okay, I just wanted to know if you hear me. All I'm saying is we have a deadline. Why don't we request an extension of the deadline? Why do we have to yield to that deadline to make our comments?
Okay, so I'll give you an answer because it's not us. It's the entire state that's asked to comment on this project proposal. So as Paul intimated and other people had spoken, John's recommendation should include reasons why we're against this because of the polluting engines and the uncovered cars. And I would recommend that John and Gary get together and put the words together that say we are opposed to this extension of waste transfer shipment on the rail system for the following reasons, and let them write it and let's authorize them to do it. Anyone?
Yeah, I agree with that that comment you made, I think, but I still think that we could write in our letter that they should give us enough time to comment on these things, whether we're speaking for ourselves or for the other people. I don't know how we got in this.
I told you before, we have.
I know.
We're really not.
We don't have enough time. Maybe they don't have enough time either.
But we really don't have a complaint in this permit for Suffolk County. Walter Sanchez, please.
Yeah, I mean, I just, as the executive committee, I wish the executive committee could see it before it goes out. And it's not a lack of trust. It's just that there are certain points that I think enough people on this meeting have made so that it's not about the location. It's about those two other things. So I'd like the executive committee to see it and review it before it goes out.
Okay, I would just like for the minutes to reflect that this is just a letter of comment to a process that's happening at the state level, and the magnitude of commentary on this has just been amazing. I get it, but I don't get it at the same time.
Okay. Kathy Massey.
I'm going to say that I agree with letting Gary and John do the letter, and also agree with Walter that the executive board should take a look at it before it goes out. And I think that we should move this subject along now.
Okay. So Kathy's proposal, we'll take that John and Gary should work together to propose something for the executive committee to approve, to send in response to this proposal. Can I have a vote on this? Mr. G, if you call a roll, I'd appreciate it.
We need a second.
Okay.
I will second Kathy's request that it go to the executive.
Thank you. Mr. G.
Now we need a vote.
Okay. Mr. Adhikari.
Yes. How I explain to everything or uncover car is not like
yes or no.
Whatever, don't say that.
Thank you.
Is that a yes?
I think he said yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Arcuri.
Yes.
Tony Benanti. Tony?
I think she dropped out.
She has an early morning.
She gets up at 4 in the morning, yes.
There you go. Eric Buckowitz.
Yes.
Bob Chimelli.
Yes.
Walter Clayton.
Yes.
Crowley.
Yes.
Dimitro Fitkowski.
4.
Steve Fiedler.
Walter's eating, so.
Steve Fiedler.
Steve's muted.
I've unmuted him.
I think you're going back and forth with him.
I don't think so. He's on a phone.
Oh my God.
All right, Suk Garang.
Yes.
Fiedler.
Thank you, Doctor.
Fred Haller.
Hold on, Gary. Hold on, Gary. Steve Fiedler's there now.
All right, people wait to hear your name, please.
Fred Haller.
Yes.
Fred Harfley.
Yes.
Rich Huber.
No.
Paul Kersner.
Yes.
Kinga Kersner.
Kurzina.
Kurzina.
He remembered her, she's not there.
Yeah. All right. Kinga Kurzina, are you there? Marianne Latanzio.
4.
John Meyer.
4.
Patricia Maltesas.
4.
Edgar Mantel.
4.
Kathy Massey.
4.
Eileen Maloney.
4.
Peggy O'Kane.
4.
Michael O'Kane.
4.
Don Passantino.
4.
Mike Porcelli.
Against.
Ken Rayberger.
4.
Ted Renz,
4.
Luis Rodriguez,
4.
Lee Rottenberg,
4.
Walter Sanchez,
4.
Dennis Steffen,
4.
Kathy Sumsky,
4.
Dinell Tapa,
4.
Barbara Toscano,
4.
Patrick Trinchesi,
I'm going to abstain.
And you have to explain why.
I'm an employee of the MTA.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
No problem.
Mariana Zero,
4.
get everybody? Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everyone. We had one item of new business. Paul Kersner had something he wanted to discuss. Paul?
Yeah, at the latter part of last month's executive board meeting, we had a little discussion about shepherding the capital budgets through the city bureaucracy. And I think there was a consensus that, at least on some of these items, members of the board should volunteer to working with Gary to be responsible for moving these things along with the bureaucracy of the city of New York. And to do that, I would suggest maybe take this actual capital budget sheet that we have and maybe put another column in, either on the one side or the other, to allow a person to sign of their interest to help shepherd this through so that it all doesn't come down on Gary's shoulders. I got the sense that Gary was for the idea. Yes, no, Gary?
Well, I don't see that. I said it at the executive committee meeting that a lot of these projects are certainly going to need advocacy, civic advocacy, business advocacy. They're going to need somebody to adopt them. Yes.
Okay. So that's why I think what we should do, and not now, but if Gary would send out just another box on each one of these things, email them. And those of you who are so inclined, write your name next to each of these items that you would like to help shepherd through. Gary is going to help you with the process, but it's going to be your responsibility to help him get it through the process. Because the amount of projects that we get through right now is directly related to the time and effort that Gary can put into it. And so he can do a lot more if he gets help on each of these projects. So Gary, is that a good suggestion to ask everybody to put their name in front of one of these things, the budget survey?
If they are so willing, we could certainly use the help.
Okay, so can you send out just a sheet with a little box where people can put their initials in?
Yeah, that's Laura's department,
Yeah,
but
Paul.
I'm sure she can figure out a way.
Okay,
Paul,
good, fine.
Everyone here is a volunteer. Everyone here was appointed because of their activities in the community and their relationships, and everything should be left up to them voluntarily. To ask them to commit to more, and then once you ask someone to commit to something, then you're going to monitor them. And Adolf did that very strongly, and we don't do that here in our community.
Then we are not going to get any more done than we get done now.
Good.
That's unfortunate.
As long as it's done democratically with a small d and not a big D.
Fine.
Thank you. Is there anything else to come before the committee tonight, the board tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on. Ken has his hand up.
Ken.
Yeah, Vinny, last month, Kathy Stumsky brought up concerns about All Faith Cemetery, and if I remember right, you mentioned something about sending any kind of email information or anything to you. Was I correct?
We did that. We sent them a message. It was something specific, I believe. And I think that they were in contact with the complainant and it was resolved because I never heard anything more.
Oh, all righty. When I get a chance, I'll go over and see, because my family grave is in an area where it's really bad by the tracks.
And there's a nice hill up there that I would have loved to selected, but my family decided otherwise.
Thank you.
Who's on iPad 8?
You're muted.
Hello? You? You have your hand up, iPad 8.
You're muted.
Okay, that's me, Kathy Sumsky. Ken, that was me who had the problem with All Faith Cemetery.
Okay.
I regret to inform you that the South Side has nothing done. My husband went through there with a truck and he had to turn around and come back. The stones are still toppled down. The weeds are uncontrollable. It's just a mess. I reached out to Bob Holden because once again, their fence is down. And the last time their fence went down, a truck tried to go through. What they were going to do, if they were grave robbing or stealing, stained glass,
All right, Kathy,
I have no idea.
Send me something descriptive so I could go and visit with them. All right.
Well, I don't know if they're still there because what I thought that there's a lawsuit against them.
Forget about legal garbage. We're community people. If we have a problem with one of our community partners, we deal with them directly. So
okay,
let me know
I
what
don't
it
know what you want from me. You want me to just tell you that it's in disrepair and that,
is. Where, what, where, when, and how. Okay.
Okay, for about the last 20 years. And okay.
We're talking about today. Forget 20 years.
Well, that's how long it's been gone back.
When, where, and how. Okay.
That's how long it's been in
Please.
disarray.
Thank
Just to let you know. Hey, listen, Vinny, we know that there's been stealing of the perpetual care money from that cemetery.
Well, please. You're making a legal accusation.
It's on the AG's.
Please,
she
please,
filed something.
Please. We don't do that on the community board. We don't make legal accusations.
It's not a legal accusation.
We report
This is a cemetery that has loved ones in it. It's being disrespected.
If you have a complaint,
and you knew about it for many months, Vinny. And so it's not like this is the first time you've heard me complain about it.
No, but you're telling me that I should file a complaint.
I'm not telling you to do anything.
No, you're telling me I should file a complaint against the local delicatessen for selling cigarettes.
I'm not telling you to do that. I'm already taking care of it. I take care of a lot of things on my own.
Okay. Just send me the information, please. Thank you. Anything else? Anything else to come before us? Motion to adjourn. Who was that?
Motion to adjourn, please.
I can't hear you.
Motion to adjourn.
Who?
I'm in second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Good night.
Is that a board member?
Good night.